Hey guys, RC here. Today is going to be a rant. I don't do these ever. This is my first rant on my channel, but I'm going to do a rant. I was watching I've mentioned several times, I'm trying to get better at this game, and it's very difficult. It is probably the most difficult game I have ever played. Now, keep in mind, I am 50 years old. I have a college degree. I've been playing computer games since the Commodore 64. And if you're not old enough to remember that, Google that shit. You have more processing power in your watch probably than that computer had. So, I've got a lot of gaming experience. I've played all kind of different games, from sports games to MMORPGs, and everything in between. So the whole point of this series, the My Help a Yank series, wasn't just to help me, but it's trying to gather information to help other people like me. So anyway, I was watching, and I've mentioned plenty of times that I've watched a lot of videos. I've probably spent several hundred hours on YouTube watching Football Manager videos. And somebody I was watching about a week ago, they had a rant, and one of the comments they made actually made a lot of sense. And they were talking about how difficult the game was. So it's very similar to my rant today. But one of the points they made was that the fan base that buys this game is pretty static. And, I think I found my first American outside of myself doing FM videos. I found his channel yesterday. So everybody else is European, and, and of course yesterday, from the day I'm recording this, yesterday, we here in America found out that our men's national team did not qualify for the World Cup this year, so that was kind of gutting. But basically, his argument is that, and he's been playing this since it started. I mean, he said he's been playing this for 20 years, so evidently he's a Generation 1 football manager player. So kudos. I mean, he more than I should know what he's talking about. So he's talking about the fact that while this game comes out every year and it sells X number of copies every year, it's basically the same people buying the game. And it doesn't do a good job. And again, I'm going off of his assumptions, but I'm looking at it from my perspective too. You don't get an influx of new ownership that becomes a loyal fan to the game. And I'm an example of that. The first time I found the game was in 2009. I had been playing a game called Out of the Park Baseball, which is the baseball equivalent of Football Manager. It is the premier game, stat-based game for baseball, like Football Manager is for soccer. And yes, I call it soccer. I'm an American. So I'm 50 years old. The guy whose video I was watching, he's at least 40. I think he just turned 40 or 41 this year. So in 20 or 30 years, when we're no longer playing video games or we're dead, and granted, they may not be worried about 20 or 30 years hence, but where are they going to get their next generation of fans from? Now, I'll use an example. My 16-year-old and my 19-year-old boys both played soccer their entire lives growing up. They no longer play because, my 16-year-old is dealing with cancer. My 19-year-old, doesn't play sports anymore, and they don't have teams for his age, and he's not good enough, in all honesty, to play competitively any longer. And So they each have their own Steam account, and they both play games, a lot of games. And you know what they don't play? Football Manager. Do you know what they have no interest in? Football Manager. So that's the next generation of video gamers that don't care about Football Manager, that Football Manager has not pulled in. Now, granted, that's my kids in America, and that may not be the demographic that Sports Center, that SI is going after, but ask yourself that question about your kids. Are your kids playing Football Manager? Do they want to play Football Manager? Now, where's my point coming from? Well, as I said, I'm 22 episodes in to my Help a Yank series. I've had exactly 2 people make comments to try to help me. And I am blown away that those 2 people took the time. Very, very grateful. And I hope they continue. Sephiroth, wherever you are, I hope you come back and contribute. And Don, you have been, a godsend, a complete legend in trying to help me out, and I do appreciate it. So yesterday, let me flip over here to my website. So yesterday I hopped over to the SI Games forum. And I said, hey, I'm doing this YouTube save, and I'm not trying to drum up business on my YouTube channel. I'm trying to create more shots and through passes into the box. Very specific question. Hey, I'm doing this YouTube. I'm getting some good advice there, but this is what I'm having trouble with. I'm struggling to understand blah, blah, blah. All right, my top striker's doing okay, 11 goals in 16 games. But every time I watch my games, there's a big logjam just outside the penalty area, and I'm wanting to see more crosses from my wingers and my center mids that are coming up, playing more passes into the box. Yet my striker, no matter what role I put him in, target man, advanced forward, whatever, he always seems to line up just outside the penalty box, right in that half circle area, and he ends up taking shots from there. Okay, so what do I do? How do I get him farther into the box? How do I get crosses to him? How do I get through balls into him? Help me out here. So, I'm asking for more help, and this is in the tactics section because we're dealing with tactics. So, Hearn79, one of the moderators, thank you, Hearn, for replying to me. Put up some pictures. Well, okay, great. I mean, I gave you 22 episodes, but he says, we're not going to take time to watch 22 episodes. That's great, and I understand that. Whatever. But, that the reason for the videos is because they give a lot of detail in what I'm doing, a lot more than a picture can show, in my opinion. However, he does ask, hey, give us a recap of what you've been doing. So here's my recap. Basically, I've condensed 22 episodes into 5 bullet points and kind of a summary. I have no clue what tactic or shape is best for my club. I'm further confounded by roles and duties. I have no inkling how to choose those. The only real success I had, and I've mentioned this in my videos, is in FM12 with a downloaded plug and play, which feels like cheating to me. All right, so I do give some pictures. Hey, here's my team. Here's some stats, ratings, what have you, where I'm playing them at. Here's my last game recap, and I took a picture of each individual screen because honestly, I don't know what pictures they want. Even in the FAQ that they say read before posting, which I did follow the forum directions, I did read that, really don't tell you what kind of pictures they're looking for. And then he also asked to clarify, what do you want to accomplish? Okay, well, here's what I want to accomplish. Well, Armistice says you want everything. Well, who doesn't want everything? My impression of soccer is you have to be able to attack to score goals, and you have to be able to defend and stop goals. And if that's wanting everything, well, then yeah, I want everything. I don't know any team, and he actually says, look at your favorite style of football. Okay, well, great. Germany, Holland, Spain, Portugal, Brazil, America, they all have defenders, they all have attackers, and they all try to score goals and they all try to stop goals. So they're all trying to do a little bit of everything. So again, I'm kind of a novice to this. I understand the basics of the game, but I don't understand the fine, nuanced details. Okay, that someone in Europe that sees soccer every day or 2 games a week or whatever may see. You know, I get to watch maybe 10 games a year. You know, big deal. Now, if we want to trade places, I could go into a lot of football and baseball knowledge that would probably rock your socks. But in soccer, I need help. So I'm trying to find help. So great. So I pick a team. Well, I don't even know what shape or tactic the different national teams play. How do I find that out? It doesn't really tell me in the game. I shouldn't have to go outside of the game to really learn how to play the game. That's the thing. Now, going back up, and this is where I kind of get off onto my real rant. How many video games do you have to actually study for to be able to play? Probably 0, except for this one. So Hearn says, well, since you don't understand, here's what you need to do. Start reading this. All right, so I click here. Okay, that looks like a whole lot of information. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm jumping. Maybe I'm, getting overwhelmed by the sheer volume here. But let's just click on the first one. Building a tactic from the beginning and maintaining it long term. That actually sounds helpful since I don't know how to build a tactic and I don't know what to do with it. Okay, so we click on that and that brings me to here. All right, well, I spent about 3 hours last night, 3 hours, just starting to read this, and I actually got down into here. So here's a rant. How come everything that you guys do on the forums and on YouTube is geared only towards the Premiership teams? None of the other teams are ever played. Nobody ever needs to figure out how a championship side or a League 2 side works. Okay, so yeah, telling me who the weak teams and the average teams, that's great. How do I compare that to another level? I don't know, and you're not telling me. Why not? What's the secret? Why are you hiding things? Why is this so difficult? Okay, so I spend time reading this. Okay, well now I get into here. Oh, real life example. Well, I open these. Well, the first thing, I'm assuming that's German because I know Dortmund and Bayern are in Germany. So I'm assuming this is German. I don't speak it. I don't read it. I don't begrudge you having a website in German. Do we have a button up here that I can switch this over to English? I can recognize the names at least, but I don't know what they're talking about. All right, so that one's useless. I can't even read it. This one actually was helpful. I liked this because look what it tells me. It tells me something about a shape, what it does, who it's used by, and then this was really cool. The true power is the tactical flexibility. In a single swap of players, a 4-1-4-1 can become a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 if needed, or even a 4-4-2. This allows the team to react quickly and effectively to changes made by the opposition side. Okay, so now they go into some teams and really don't tell me a whole lot that help me out. But that was interesting. So now I've got a shape, and again, I may use words that I view them as interchangeable. So when I say shape, that's a 4-3-3. That's a shape to me. It's also a tactic or a formation. I call them all the same. All three of those words to me mean the same thing. But that doesn't tell me that when I go into the game and I pull up Colchester on day 1 and I'm looking at this, how do I determine what the best shape or tactic for my team is? It doesn't help me understand that. So, then I'm stuck with, okay, do I want to play a 4-4-2? Do I have enough guys to do that? Okay, so that's kind of the crux of not just mine, I'm sure, of anybody trying to understand the game from an outsider's perspective. Why make this so difficult? Why does the game have to be so hard? Now, I don't say dumb the game down, but there's got to be a way to bring this in, okay? And, so again, we have other stuff that I have, I tried to get into and it blocks me out and I've got to subscribe, so I'm not going to do that. This is a personality quiz. Why do we have that? I have no idea. All right, so we're not going to do that. And tactical analysis. All right, so again, I even went in last night and I tried to Google what formation the Brazil team uses. Couldn't find really anything, I found one page that had like every formation they've ever used, and it was like 280 something pages long. And I went, if I've got to even start to look through 280 pages of something for the Brazil national team to figure out how to play a video game, that's fucked up. That's really fucked up. All right. So, when we go in and we start looking at, at even tutorials. I mean, every game out there has tutorial videos, right? All right. So let's go to YouTube. All right, and let's look up FM17 tutorial. All right, so there's a tutorial. There are some. Let's see what they are. All right, starter's guide. All right. I've started watching that one. I've watched this one, tips and tricks. That's for training. Okay, so training, yeah, okay. None of these really go into, okay, they tell you, even this one. I mean, I started watching Big Herb the Nerd. I've got to keep watching that. Honestly, the British thing with him, very dry, hard to listen to. That's just personal. He seems like a great guy, and he tries to put out information. I find him hard to watch. But I have watched several of his videos. I will persevere. I can only take a little bit at a time, though. Club logos. Okay, well, I don't give a damn about that. I want to be able to do the actual tactic. I don't care about finding players. Okay. Don't even know what that is. Skins. Okay, so again, searching for regions. None of this is helping me understand how to play the game. So probably Herb is the closest one. Well, let's see. Tutorial on how to make a tactic. All right, I'm sure I've done that search too. All right, so there's Herb. Dr. Poplove, I've seen his. Yes, part 3, I've even watched that part. A 9-minute video on how to set a tactic. Really? Okay, so this guy tells me I've got to read, 18 days worth of studying, and this tells me I can learn how in 9 minutes. Somewhere in there's a disconnect. All right. This one, how to build a 4-3-2-1. How do I know if a 4-3-2-1 is the right tactic for me on my team that I picked here? Let's start with some basic stuff, guys. When we go in and we take a job, okay? All right. No, that's not what I want. All right. League 2, all right? I took Colchester. What if I took Carlisle? How do I go into Carlisle and decide what shape to play with them? I don't know. How come nobody's ever done an introduction video for that? How to choose the right tactic. How about how about covering each tactic in general? I mean, we've got a long list here. Just go through each one. Cover 5 defender formations in general. Pick out a couple, specifically, and talk about what a 5 defender formation does, how it's positive and negative on defense, and how to do any type of attacking. Because my first thought is a 5 defender formation is going to be a park the bus, very few goals, and you're probably going to lose a lot of games. I mean, granted, most of the scores are 0-0 or 1-1 in soccer anyway, but how do you generate offense from a defensively heavy formation? Haven't seen any videos on that. Some of you FM gurus, take note of this, guys. Four defenders. This is kind of the vanilla tactic for today. But, how do all these work? What is the pros and cons of a 4 defensive back set? Why should you use wingers instead of a flat 4? Why should you have fullbacks on attack instead of working a flat 4 all defense? How do you generate offense from these different schemes? And a 3 defender. I've seen a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2, I think, 3-5-2. Yes. So again, strengths, weaknesses. So, but 99% of these formations are not even covered in videos. So, and then, now, great, we've picked a shape. Now we've got to figure out which players are best. And, I go into a player, and I click on him, and I say, okay, I want to go there. And, oh, well, this looks like it's telling me that these are his best positions, right? So defensive fullback on defend or fullback on support or, whatever. But then I have people say, well, no, just because the circle's full green doesn't mean it's the best role. And just because he's full green and you put everybody in a position that's full green doesn't mean they're going to work together in the right way. Okay, well, that's great, but that's the only indicator that the game gives us. So how do we learn how this interplay between positions works? There's no tutorials. There's nothing in the game to tell us how to analyze that. All I have is circles and highlighted stuff. And I can go, average, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, this guy's not horrible. Let's play him there. Oh, but he's not your best player. Okay, well, how do I know that? How do I know he's not the best player? How do I know that playing him at his best position won't mesh with whoever I put up at the winger in the midfield, if I have one? And then we're back to, how do I know I need to play with a winger, or do I play with a narrow? Do I play with these out wide? Which one's best for me? How do I determine just basic crap like that? So, I don't know who I'm mad at, the game, the YouTubers, but there's a complete disconnect in trying to get people to understand how to play the game. And you might sit there and go, hey, you're in the promotion right now, you're doing well. Yeah, all I'm doing is flipping buttons and hitting switches, and I have no clue what I'm doing. Most of this is sheer luck and maybe talent. I mean, if I put a professional football team on the field against a elementary school team, I could be the worst coach in history, and we should still win just because I have the best players. So, is that what I need to do? Is just go get the best players in the world and win on sheer luck? What I'm trying to do is understand how to come into this game, how to pick a formation, how to pick a tactic out of this list, which one of these is right for me. I mean, there's only 50 to choose from or something. How do I know which one's right for my team? How do I analyze my player composition and come up with a shape by that? And I understand there's not a be-all, end-all, but, do I play a 4-3-3? Do I play a 4-3-2-1? Do I play a 5-2-3? Whatever it may be, and I can't answer that. But there's nothing in the game. The game is failing to make it easier to comprehend the game itself. There is literally no other game that I can think of that I've got to come out and I've got to go through a reading list like this, off-site and out of game, to figure out how to play it. I mean, it's going to be stupid, but the closest game I've seen to a bad learning curve is Dwarf Fortress, and it's a 2D, building game, and that's what that's what the graphics look like right there. But it's got the best wiki I've ever seen. All right, and you can go in and it will walk you through just about anything. Okay, how to build a well. Oh, there's a well guide. Oh, well, how to choose your location, what a water source needs, channeling water, aqueducts, aquifers, safety points, graphics on how to build it, pools and ponds, what to do if you have salt water. Okay, is there a football manager wiki? Nobody's ever pointed me to one. The only thing I've been pointed to is this website. Okay, and that's great. Most places have a website, but then they tell me to go off-site and read all kind of stuff. So I've got to go study for weeks on end. Hell, the version 19 is going to be out before I probably finish reading all this and understand it. So, I don't know. I guess, the juxtaposition of my rant is there's probably a lot of people like me that want to play this game. And in playing a game, you have to understand how the game works. You have to understand how the pieces fit together. And especially in a game like soccer, right? Come on. Especially in a game like soccer, where all the pieces do have to interact. But not only do I have to pick the right tactic, then I've got to come in and I've got to pick the right role and the right duty. And the only indicators the game gives me are these green circles, and they say, well, just because he's best at advanced playmaker, support, doesn't mean that's going to be his best role on the team. Maybe a ball-winning defend midfielder is where he's going to be best. Okay, great. That's not what the circle's telling me, and that's the only indicator the game gives me. And then when I go try to get help on YouTube, I get, I get guys saying, okay, well, they come to this screen, and then they go here, and they go, okay, I'm going to play a 4-3-3, boom, and this is going to be my player, and this is going to be my player, and this is going to be my striker. They don't explain why they're picking that player over another player. They don't explain, I can look at this screen in their video, but they don't tell me why they're picking a target man attack over a poacher attack or a false nine. And they don't tell me why picking a winger is better than an inside forward here, or an inside forward would be better. They're not explaining that in the videos. So I think there's a lot of room that, for the guys that are doing the tutorial style videos to delve so much deeper into the explanation process. And at the end of the day, when we're asking these questions, this is where you can spend an entire episode on one position or one tactic, and why this tactic fits your team. And we don't have to see a single game played out. This would be a series that I would watch for the information it can give me visually, because I'm actually a better visual learner than a reading learner. And and I could watch 10 episodes of this, one for each position, to figure out, okay, that makes sense why you're doing this, and giving me firsthand, okay, let's come in and look at the squad, and I want to look only at my central defenders, and I'm going to look at the attributes for a central defender. Defend, there's your ratings, and here's what I'm looking at, and here's why Eastman is better than Winter and Kent is better than Prosser, or James should be moved up into this group. You know, is it the most green numbers? Is it, green numbers in certain categories? Okay. And, again, I'm sure there's not a be all end all, but there has to be a thought process. And that's the whole thing. Nobody's ever explained the thought process. The game doesn't explain the thought process. They just throw this big wall of numbers at you and go, here, figure it out. Play the game. And again, going back to me, I bought 2009. I tried to play it. I got to the point where I said, screw this game, and I quit playing it. And then I came back and I said, a couple of years later, and I said, okay, I'm going to try it again because I really liked soccer. I've heard great things about this game. Maybe I just, bad version. Maybe it was, buy version 12. Same thing. Don't get it. Can't figure it out. Can't really get answers on the forum because they say go watch a million, read these million websites. And, I say, so I finally say screw the game again. I come back 2 versions later, 14, do the same thing, and now I'm back 3 versions later. Okay, so how many sales? Just from me, they've lost 10, 11, 13, 15, 16. So they've lost 5 sales just to me. How many people like me are there out in the world? Well, I guarantee there's not many like me because most people, once they bought 9 and said, screw this game, they wouldn't come back for any other version later. They would never be a customer again. So that's a lot of lost sales. And then you have people like the new, like my kids that take a look at the game and go, whatever, not interested, and, or they come and go, how do you play that? And I go, I really don't know. Oh, okay, well, if you can't figure it out, then I'm not going to waste my time, So how many kids are like that today that, the next generation of FM fans, FM players aren't even playing the game because, we're not answering the questions to help them learn how to play the game. There's got to be a better way to go about this. I don't know what it is. All I know is I do get frustrated with it, and and this is my 4th time with this, and I've already pre-ordered 18 like an idiot. But I am committed to trying to learn the game. But when I send a message to a YouTuber and I say, hey, how did you do this? Well, you can go find it in one of my 191 videos. Figure it out, good luck. Oh, okay. So, I subscribe to your channel. I've actually watched all 191 of the videos in that playlist. All I'm looking for is a real quick, simple answer, and you're telling me to go spend another 90, 80 some odd hours trying to find, one little, evidently 10-second segment in one video that you probably know off the top of your head. Gee, thanks. So much for being a loyal subscriber and viewer of your channel, trying to get some help from you. I understand that you're busy, and making videos for a living is hard work. But that's great that people that are trying to get better, especially when that person is the same one that did the rant on the future of the game because they don't help out new players. Hashtag hypocrite. Anyway, now I did see something in FM18 in the tactics screen that this screen here was kind of gridded and had colors in it, and you had red zones. And so what I'm hoping, but what I don't know is, so let's say if I have this guy set to ball winning midfielder defend, maybe in this zone here it'll be red because that'll be a weak spot. Now if I set him to support, maybe that red turns to a light green or a lighter red, which means I've covered that better. So maybe that is a way that they can add into the game that then we can change these roles even though we don't know what they do exactly. Maybe that will help us at least cover, to use the American term, to cover all our bases. To make sure we've got all segments of the field or the pitch covered. I don't know if that's what it's going to do. When I saw it, that was my thought. So I hope that's what it is. It was also kind of like on this screen too. I think it was, it was geared out. But anyway, like I said, just a lot of frustration with the game. The inability to truly get help when you ask for it. They say ask if you have questions, but if you're like, basically it sounds like if you're like me and you're a neophyte at the game and you don't know the nuances, they don't want to waste their time with you, so they give you homework. Well, I'm 50. I quit doing homework a long time ago. I get paid for work now, and I play games for fun. And if I've got to study, it's not a game I really want to play. So, I'm going to keep plugging away on my YouTube channel, trying to get my questions answered, because I guarantee if I've got the questions, then I know other people are going to have the same question. I would just encourage some of you veterans that understand and know the game to try to get more involved to build up the future for this game. As good as it is, or as good as it allegedly is, then you should want the game to be able to persevere long term and not, because one day when you're not buying this game anymore and nobody behind you is buying it, they're going to quit making it. And at that point, you may not care anymore, but, right now you are a fan, so you should be interested in their success, because the time that they quit making the game could come at a time when you're still interested, but other people have left or passed on or whatever. Anyway, enough of a rant. Thanks for your time. Thumbs up to the video if you think it is worth anything at all. And share this around. Try to get this out to as many people, because I think people need to hear what those of us that are trying to break into the game, what we're missing, what we're not seeing, and what we're not getting help with. Because, the more help we can get, even if it's on one video or one YouTube channel like mine, other people can then see that, and maybe it answers their questions too. And then maybe people like my kids watch that video and go, oh, okay, well that makes a little sense and that helps me understand. Maybe I'll buy the game and give it a shot. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about, is being able to understand the game and being able to want to play the game. And play the game relatively well. Not winning every game. Not being able to create a beat everybody tactic. But being able to put a tactic into place, understand why it's a good tactic for your team. Because like I said, what would have happened if I would have picked, Grimsby or Stevenage or Accrington? Would I play the same tactic? Maybe, maybe not, but I don't know. I can't even answer that simple question. How do I pick the right tactic for a team? And when I can go in and the only thing that I see is, oh, well, I'll tell you what the best formations are for, the sides in the Premiership, or the top teams. Okay, here's the top 6 teams. Here's the best formations to use for them. Well, that's great. What happens if I want to play with a Swansea or a West Brom or a Hull? Or, what happens if I want to play with Brighton or Leeds or Aston Villa? God, Leeds are doing bad again. I just, those are basic questions that I don't think should take a degree in rocket science to figure out in order to play a game. Because at the end of the day, it's a game. We're not actually out there on the pitch coaching, Man City or Arsenal or whoever. We're sitting at our desk in our house playing a freaking game. And no game should be to the point where I've got to take 3 weeks off of work to come in and read and break down, you know, an entire history of the sport to try to understand it. Because there's no other game out there that requires that. All right, well, my rant's gone on long enough. Thank you guys, and back to your regular programming as I fire up Football Manager and play a few games and see if I can quit sucking as much as I do. Thanks, guys. Bye.